Hey Playas, welcome to Playas Guide. On today's episode of Playas Guide, I'm going to be talking about Tengen Games for the NES. So Tengen was a subsidiary company of Atari who wanted to release more than 5 games per year on the NES, which was Nintendo's agreement with different publishers at the time. So Tengen did end up coming out with 3 games. That was Gauntlet, Pac-Man, and RBI Baseball, which were all licensed releases. They then stopped releasing licensed releases and came out with their own brand of cartridge. It was a black, kind of odd-shaped cartridge, different looking than the regular gray, and it had the ability to work its way around the lockout chip inside of your NES. These games also happen to be higher quality than most other unlicensed games that you're going to find. So here's 6 games released by Tengen on the NES that I think you should check out. Tubin on the NES is a port of an Atari arcade game. Tubin offers a fun and addictive high-score adventure through rapids in various settings, where you avoid enemies and obstacles while collecting extra points and what looks like beer cans, they might be pop cans, which can be used to attack most enemies in an attempt to finish the course. Tubin also offers a 2-player mode. However, unlike the arcade, the NES version does not offer simultaneous play. Tubin is a fairly uncommon game, but I'm certain that if you're out game hunting and you look hard enough, you will find a copy. Tengen Tetris. Tetris, one of the most recognized puzzle games in the world, was released on the NES by Tengen. Nintendo also released a version of Tetris. Unlike Nintendo's NES version, the Tengen version offered 2-player simultaneous competition and a similar style of gameplay to the original Tetris. Nintendo sued Atari Tengen over the rights to Tetris on the NES and won. Tengen Tetris was pulled from the market, making it the rarest and most collectible of all the Tengen games. It's also the most expensive of all the Tengen games too. Super Sprint on the NES is a personal favorite of mine. There's no specific reason why. A few things I enjoy about it are the ability to collect and earn cash to upgrade your car, the way the game handles, forcing you to hug every turn, and the simplicity of it. Super Sprint might not stand out to most, but there is a very little that can be said negatively about this game, since it has so few faults. Super Sprint NES is a port based on the 1986 arcade. Now, Super Sprint is a fairly common game, and you can pick this one up pretty cheap, so it's worth checking out. It's the 90s, and it's time for clacks! A colorful puzzle game on the NES with fast-paced color combination action. There are multiple color combinations that will have you racking up your high score. This game introduces you to them at the start. As the blocks fall, it's up to you to come up with a combination to use. If you miss 3 blocks, you're done. Clacks, like many of the games on this list, was based off of an Atari arcade game. Clacks is a fairly common game to come across. I would highly recommend adding it to your collection if you do, especially if you enjoy puzzle games. You should be able to find this one pretty cheap, too. Fantasy Zone is an endless, rapping, side-scrolling shoot-'em-up or cute-'em-up. This game has a strange look to it that I think can be best described as alien bug-like characters. In Fantasy Zone, you collect coins dropped by enemies, which can be used in the shop to upgrade your ship. This game also has boss battles at the end of every stage, which are unlocked by destroying 5 motherships. If you can hold on to your power-ups, they will come in handy against these bosses, especially in the later stages. There was a Fantasy Zone released on the Famicom, which is actually a different game than the North American release. Japan also got a sequel to Fantasy Zone on the Famicom, Fantasy Zone 2. Fantasy Zone is not the most common Tengen game, but it's still pretty easy to come by and shouldn't be too expensive. Pac-Mania, one of my favorite games on the NES. In this version of Pac-Man, one of the first things you're going to notice is the depth of the graphics, and that Pac-Man works his way through various stages with different looks or themes. Pac-Man can also jump. This game also puts you up against several different ghosts with different abilities. Pac-Mania was not released on the Famicom and is a port of a Namco arcade game distributed by Atari. This game is a must for NES collectors and gamers, or anyone who is a fan of Pac-Man. It's very enjoyable and fairly affordable. It is one of the more uncommon Tengen games, so you might not be able to find a copy right away. Thanks for checking out my video on Tengen Games on the NES. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see similar videos to it, it's free to subscribe to this channel. I will be putting out more videos, so feel free to leave a comment letting me know what you'd like to see. Later, players.